Welcome to Requiro. Today we are going to be talking about the loneliness epidemic with this generation, and the reason why I'm making this video is I haven't seen that many people talk about it. The only person I've actually seen talk about this is Salem Toba. I mentioned her in my last video and she did make a really good video about this, so I recommend to go watch her video. After this, I'll put it in the description down below or also on this week's episode in the sources section. And another reason why I'm making this video is because I mentioned it in other videos where I mentioned I should make this video. We are not going to be talking about the loneliness epidemic with young people in this video. You guys want me to talk about that? I'll definitely talk about that. Loneliness epidemic, I should make a video about that. Now I finally am. And also one thing I do want to say, sorry if my eyes seem very watery and puffy. I think there's still a lot of cat fur on my clothing even after washing it, and I'm mildly allergic to cats, pollen, and eggs, and also dust. So I have 3 of those things in my house right now. Also, I'm noticing lately everything I talk about lately on this channel is weirdly leading back to Luigi Mangione.
It's because everything does!
This has not been intentional, it's just been the videos I've been making lately. And also, I always recommend this in all my videos, but this is more of a discussion type of video than like research and things type of video, but I will always put all my sources and all that in this week's episode on the website, and I always recommend to do your own research. But in this time around, if you guys want to have a nice discussion about it in the comments down below with your own experiences or anything like that, but I do want to add is please be civil down there. I want this place to be a nice little community, to have a good discussion. If I see you guys being mean down there to anyone, or even myself down there, I will block you. I don't have that function where I can monitor my comments, where I can put guidelines yet, because I'm not big enough yet, so I will delete and block you if I catch you guys being mean down there. I want to have a good civil discussion. Okay? Got that? Okay. Anyway, wait, let me get something cozy. Okay, so, with this video, grab a stuffed animal, get cozy, and let's get into the video. The loneliness epidemic, where it is very much a big thing with young people, and it isn't just in the friendship type of way, it's also in the romantic side of things as well. It's very much a thing happening with this generation over the last, I'm assuming like, say 10 years. I think I'm Gen Z, I'm 24, I'm not too sure. I kind of claim my generation as like weird grey area. It's really the kids that were born between 1998 to like 2000 is like that weird grey area where like society doesn't really care about you. That's what I classify as my age group. So, but I think I might be Gen Z, but like the older generation, if that makes sense, of Gen Z, where we grew up with technology, but then also not at the same time. Anyway, before I get into this more in depth in the video, this is roughly what the definition means of like the loneliness epidemic, and I'll put it up on screen for you guys.
In the Young Australian Loneliness Survey, a significant proportion of young Victorians reported problematic levels of loneliness. This included 1 in 6 adolescents, aged 12 to 17, and more than 1 in 3 young adults, aged 18 to 25. Many were also at risk of social isolation, with young adults again reporting higher levels than adolescents.
Here's another thing I want to bring up. It's basically talking about the different types of loneliness and what is going on. Again, this is done by an older person, and reading the articles, I can tell they don't truly understand or get it, but it is very interesting, and they do bring up some really interesting key points. And again, I do want to bring up here, I'm sorry, all of these are Australian. I do live in Australia, so if you guys can't see the actual articles on the actual website, let me know and I'll just take screenshots of like every single page or part of the article, and you guys can like go read it, and I'll put it in the website in the document section. So let me know, okay? Like, again, sorry, these are all Australian. They were all the ones that I could find on my side of the world. Anyway, I'll put this up on screen.
Loneliness is a subjective experience of distressing feelings that arise when there is a divergence between an individual's desired and actual social relationships. It is a distressing emotional state that occurs when we perceive our social relationships to be inadequate in terms of quality, quantity, or both. 1.5. Problematic loneliness is defined in terms of high intensity and persistent experiences. 3.6. Loneliness can be transient or episodic, or it can be ongoing and chronic. 7.8. It is also important to note that some people voluntarily choose to spend their time in solitude and should not be assumed to have unmet social needs. Loneliness is unchosen. 4.5.8. Social isolation is an objective and observable state of having few opportunities for social interaction. Although some people certainly experience loneliness as a result of their social isolation, others feel lonely even when they are in the company of others. 4.5. Loneliness and social isolation are two forms of social disconnection. Social connection describes the overall structure, function and quality of an individual's relationships. 9. Social connection occurs on a continuum with both.
Okay, so that was the article explaining like different types of loneliness and the loneliness epidemic roughly. Again, all these articles are done by older people. These articles and things were done by older people that don't truly understand what the hell's going on with our generation and what the fuck happened. So that's why I'm here to talk about this more in depth from a person who is living through this shit and trying to like talk about it, and maybe more people understand or can relate. Now, so basically the loneliness epidemic very much started happening, or at least people started to notice it a lot more for a couple of different reasons. So firstly, it was the pandemic. I'm not gonna change the wording for YouTube. Accept it happened, okay? We were stuck inside for 2 fucking years and we weren't allowed to leave. It happened. The pandemic, where a lot of this generation's primal years, like their last year in high school, or their first years into university, or graduating university and going into the workforce, that was literally in the pandemic. And in a lot of those normal situations, that is the prime time for people to make friends, to make relationships. And our generation did not have that experience where a lot of people make friends, make lasting friends, making romantic relationships, compared to a lot of generations before or even after us at this point in time, compared to those generations where literally those, I'm assuming, golden years of making lasting friendships and making those memories were literally stolen from us in those 2 years where we all weren't allowed to leave our houses for 2 fucking years. Make bonds with people, and in my case, it was my entire university experience. Literally, it happened for 2 years. My entire university course happened in 2 years, and my entire university was literally spent online. And if you weren't that tech savvy, or you're not like one of those people who were very good online or liking texting people online and stuff like me, or you just weren't ever invited into the Discord groups, you were very much a lot more isolated in the pandemic when that all happened. Actually having those 2 solid years where everyone was locked away in their homes took away a lot of that social experience from a lot of people. And then once the pandemic sort of ended, we were all shoved into the workforce, or this type of place where everything was meant to snap back and go back to normal. In reality, when everyone has already made their friend groups in work or high school or university, when everyone has already made those lasting, loving friendship groups. And sadly, once friend groups create, not a lot of people want to change that and add more people to the friend group that often. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but a lot of people don't, if that makes sense, compared to our generation where that was literally stolen from us, and where I felt like my golden years, and a lot of other people kind of feel the same, where that was stolen from them in that time period. And if you're going to say, I don't want to talk about this is too depressing, I don't want to talk about that, fuck off. This is my channel. This is what I'm here to talk about. I'm gonna talk about things that no one really wants to talk about because they think it's too sad or too depressing, or they just don't care enough about it. This is what this channel is here for, so I'm gonna talk about it. Can you tell that's happened to me before when someone wanted to shush me about the terrible time I had in the pandemic? I literally have something in my notes going, no, I'm not bitter about it. I am still bitter about it. And I'm 24. And another reason why this is also happening a lot now is a lot of people are very self-absorbed these days, where they only focus on themselves. They treat friendships that are very much transactional, like, oh, what can you do for me, instead of taking friendships as they are, as like just friendships. And I'm noticing that a lot more, and I mentioned this in my last video where I talked about invisible disabilities, where a lot of people these days lack a lot of empathy and understanding, and that's very much a lot with this generation as well. And sadly, online it is very much shown where it's very much a good thing to only treat yourself, do things for you, and what can other people do for you. It is very much encouraged. And the sad thing about that is a lot of people use the excuse of self-care for the selfish things they're actually doing. If example to themselves or even other people around them is like, oh, it's self-care. In reality, no, that's not self-care. Now, I'm not saying self-care is not important. It is very important to take care of yourself, things that you love and adore to do, but or just using it as a excuse is not a good way to go about it. Prioritizing those type of things over friendship, you're literally just isolating yourself, using friends or people for what you want to do, and that isn't fair on society or other people around you. But basically, people are a lot more self-absorbed these days and not willing to put the effort in to make friends or just treat friends as friends instead of like transactional. It's like, oh, what can they do for me? Compared to what friendship is actually meant to be, if that makes sense. That and sad thing about that entire thing is not a lot of people understand that pain unless you were that generation where those golden years was taken away from you. Like younger people I used to talk to, they were like 2 years younger than me. They did not experience the university years taken away from them, or going into the workforce, graduating university or graduating high school, going into the workforce, and those golden years taken away from them. Especially older people, they do not get it whatsoever. Like, we will go into this later on into the video, but literally the older generation does not understand this problem, like why we all like this. And I will touch on that later on in the video when we get into it, but it is very much our generational type of problem that no one really cares or understands about, and that kind of sucks. Where a lot of people these days don't want to make connections or anything like that. It is a lot higher now than it was back a couple of years ago. And we will talk about the self-care stuff and how it's kind of not really self-care anymore. And very much with social media today, it's very much encouraged, saying, oh, self-care, only treat yourself, do things by yourself, and very much encouraging that self-absorbedness instead of treating friendships how they're meant to be, if that makes sense. And not a lot of people these days want to take that jump or do that or put the actual effort in to actually hang out with other people or do those things because they just don't want to. And that sucks for the people who generally want to do that, generally want to make friends, when there's people out there that don't want to do that whatsoever. And instead of like a natural friendship where you just hang out and just enjoy each other's time together, instead of just saying, oh, what can they do for me? Can they drive me places? Can they pay for my lunch? Can they just be a shopping buddy for me? And that kind of sucks when you don't want to do that. And when a lot of people have that mindset where they're thinking very much self-absorbed and not wanting to put the effort in to make friendships or understand what the hell other people are going through, that makes it a lot more harder for people who generally want to make friendships. And sadly, society is heading more towards in that direction, and that's not healthy for us as human beings. And it's even worse for people that had no friends growing up through high school, where you're meant to make friends, but then not a lot of people actually had that experience where they had no friends going through high school, and then forced into the pandemic when you're meant to make friends, and then that still doesn't happen. You pop out on the other end still very much alone, if that makes sense. Or even if you've been through trauma, or you have a hidden disability, or even if you're not that right type of quirkiness that people find acceptable, you will be rejected, because again, people refuse to be more understanding and empathetic towards other people. And if you're not that right type of quirky that is acceptable and cute, and I also notice this as well quite a bit in different communities as well, like say the emo or goth community, or Lita community, etc., or any of those type of communities. Hi, it's voiceover me. So I'm not calling out those communities specifically for this. I was just using those as some examples. I mean, all different types of communities like that, they do exclude people if they are not in that right type of cookie cutter kind of way. I just thought I should put that here. Different types of communities as well. If you're not in that cookie cutter type of way, you are technically not accepted in those type of communities, and that makes no goddamn sense. And that is also adding to the isolation, making people feel very much more alone when people don't want to accept those type of people, because again, the lack of understanding and empathy, making those type of people more isolated and alone compared to people that are not. Again, people are lacking a lot more empathy and understanding, and it's making those type of people and people in general more alone and isolated, adding to the loneliness epidemic. And I think those type of people need the understanding and friendship the most, I think, who don't fit in those type of categories, or even if they've been through stuff. And I'm not saying people who have not been through that kind of stuff or don't fit in a certain box in society don't deserve friendship, but I think those people also need it the most, because, they don't fit in anywhere. And when society refuses to do that, it leaves those kind of people on the outside looking in. And then dealing with the people that are being self-absorbed or not wanting to put the effort in to make general actual friendships makes it harder for people that actually want to make general actual friendships, because people don't want to put the work into it to actually hold on to or make a general actual friendship with people. And that is not fair. Why is society heading in this direction, saying it's okay to do that kind of stuff when it's absolutely not? And also same thing online as well, when you try to make friends online, and more so in the try to friendship type of apps like in Bumble. I was very much convinced by one of my ex-friends to go on Bumble to find a man, and she said just hang out in the friendship section. That's how you can find someone that isn't a creepy person. And again, I was very much convinced by them to go on there to find a person. This is not a part of the story, but when I was in the friendship section of Bumble, and I think this is also very much on the dating side as well, where a lot of people on those type of apps are very shallow. a lot of people there did not want to make actual general friendships. They were very shallow when you care about things on the surface level or deal, and instead of actually wanting to build actual general friendships. By the way, I'm not on those apps anymore. One creepy message that ended it for me. Deleted my account, deleted the app. I'm just accepting I'm going to be alone forever. And that's also another problem, again, adding to the loneliness epidemic. And the problem with this is because we are humans, we are very social creatures, where we're meant to be hanging out with people, and literally being lonely is literally affecting our own health. And if we don't fix this, I think we're just gonna start dying soon. Open screen, so these are the actual effects of physically and mentally of being a lonely human being in this stupid stone age. So I'll put it up on screen for you guys.
Health effects of social isolation. Loneliness research has linked social isolation and loneliness to higher risks for a variety of physical and mental conditions: high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, a weakened immune system, anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease, and even death.
So that is the rough definition of what being chronically lonely is going to do to your health if you are chronically lonely. So basically, everyone in this generation who is chronically lonely, we are all gonna die way sooner compared to everyone else who has a great friendship group. Yay! And that's really bad for the people who actually want to make general friendships if they meet up with those people that only have things, that only treat friendships as transactional, compared to the people who actually want to make general actual friendships instead of people treating it as transactional and then tossing them aside when they don't need them anymore. And that is a shitty thing where society is right now, and that's just adding to the loneliness problem, excluding more people. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my own personal experience where I've had friends, they might see this, they probably won't, I don't freaking know, I'm not going to say their names or anything, but I've had friends in the past where they've used me for stuff and then they just tossed me aside once they found new friends that more fit their aesthetic, or they just don't need me anymore because they got what they wanted, or they're totally okay with cancelling on me at the last minute because something came up when you made plans a week in advance. Now, I understand things change and happen, I totally get it, but when that keeps happening over and over and over again, it gets to a point where they're the ones who don't want to put the effort in and understanding to spend time with you. Again, that's more so on me because I didn't have that many friends growing up, and I got breadcrumbs and I just dealt with the breadcrumbs I was given, and then I realized I deserved actual true friendship by one person who actually gave me great friendship, and they are my only friend at the moment. They don't watch this, they know I make these, but they don't watch this. And those kind of people, there's always, and that is just adding to the more how self-absorbed people are, where they care more about themselves than wanting to build a general actual friendship compared to actually doing it. And some people are totally okay being cancelled on at the last minute multiple times, but then there's a lot of other people that are not okay with that over and over again. And some people, like me in my case, will put up with that shit because they have no other choice or friends to deal with that, so they just deal with the breadcrumbs they're given, and in reality you should not deal with the breadcrumbs you are given from people like that. And sad fact is, it's gonna take years to find your people, to find your tribe, and I'm 24 and I found one person who is an actual general friend in my life, and it took me that one friend to realize the true friendship I actually deserved instead of the breadcrumbs I was given by other people that I just put up with because I had no other choice. And I think a lot of other people can understand that experience I've had. It took 3 years to get that, and that kind of sucks. It should not take that many years for me. It shouldn't take that long for people to show you general understanding and kindness. But in reality, it sadly does when you don't fit in the cookie cutter mold. And if you guys don't fit in the cookie cutter mold that society or certain groups of people that if you don't fit into those cookie cutter molds, you are very much excluded, and there's other people out there that will be your people, but sadly, finding those people will take time and effort, and when you kept dealing with having shitty people or shitty friends, it just makes you want to stop trying. And this can also be in the case in the dating realm. I don't want to tackle that today. That's not gonna be a future video. Other people talk about that. I don't want to talk about it here. But dealing with that kind of stuff in today's friendships makes you not want to keep trying, because people don't want to actually put the time or energy in when you're the one who's always putting the time and energy to plan hangout dates, or always being the one who's texting people, or being the only one who gets messages from other people when they want something from you. And in reality, that's not what friendship should be. Friendship should just be people just like hanging out with each other because they like it. And sadly, a lot of people are just takers out there, and is very much encouraged online to be that way instead of being an actual good human being, and that is a shitty thing, honestly. And if you've been hurt by so many different people, it just makes you not want to try anymore, and that is going to stop you to find those people that treat you the way you should be treated. And I think the sad fact is, there are some people out there that are getting breadcrumbs from their friends, and they think that's all they can get in friendship, and they don't have anyone else in their life saying, oh yeah, this is how you actually should be treated. In reality, they don't have that person showing them they should be treated better and loved better. So I'm going to be that person, okay? This random blonde girl on the internet who has kind of green in her hair, who is sitting in front of a bookshelf with manga and books about freaking Lord of the Rings and dinosaurs, etc. Now, I'm going to tell you this. You should have friends that should care about you, who want to spend time with you, doing whatever you want to do, and you should feel like you want to do whatever with them as well. And you should feel like it's totally okay if you guys want to hang out at a restaurant, or you guys just want to sit and hang out at home doing nothing, watching TV. You deserve that, and they should be people who care about you and your well-being and whatever shit you've gone through, and you should do the same for them. And those friends should not want to use you for company or for things you have, like a house, a car, apartment, I don't know, washing machine, I don't know. There's probably other things I could think of. Or like literally anything. Those people who just want to use you, or like take advantage of your time or whatever you have, and they only talk to you when they want something. Those people aren't your friends. Those people just want to use you for your kindness, your generosity, or even use you for your time and generosity. They don't actually want to hang out and spend time with you. Those people aren't your real friends, and you are better off spending time by yourself and finding real, actual, general friendship, and instead of putting up with the breadcrumbs that you are getting from those people. And you should not put up with that. Those people don't care about you, and even if it hurts to realize that, you are going to be better off getting rid of those people in your life. And I know it's gonna hurt even if you have no one else in your life. I can say that because I'm very much in that same boat where I literally have one person in my life. I think they're a general friend, and compared to the people that I thought were friends, they were just bad friends. And one thing I do want to mention is, I always thought bad friends were horrible people. In reality, bad friends can also be nice people, if that makes sense. There's a difference between kindness and niceness. Is that a word? I think so, but I remember hearing that saying and I didn't truly understand it, but there is a difference between kindness and people being generally nice. People can be nice, but it doesn't mean they can be kind. You deserve so much better, so much more compared to the breadcrumbs you are getting. It is going to hurt when you let those people go, when you have no one else, but you will be better for the long term doing that. You guys deserve better. I deserve better. We all deserve so much better. And sadly, people are not willing to do that. But there's some people are. There's some people out there. They're just hard to find through the sea of bad people. And it kind of sucks. The reality the world is heading better off in that direction, where it's more praised to be a bad friend and self-absorbed instead of being a good, nice, kind human being. I don't know how to fix the loneliness epidemic. Maybe people just need to stop being so self-absorbed, stop using people for their own gain instead of just using them for what they can do for them, and just treat friendship as friendship instead of feeling like, oh, I have to do this for them. I don't want to do this. And people just need to be more understanding, accepting. I have no idea if I got my point across making this video. Probably should have done a better job at this. I don't think I have. But I kind of wanted to talk about this because I've seen it a lot around everywhere, and not many people are talking about it, for like a couple of people, but I think people need to talk about this a lot more, and hopefully we can fix this loneliness epidemic with our generation. I think people need to be less selfish and treating friendships as transactional instead of treating it like actual friendship, and people need to be more understanding and caring of other people and literally just not being an asshole. I think that's a good way to end this video. Hi, it's voiceover me. So I came across this reel on Instagram just before I started editing this video, and I think it's a really beautiful quote that I definitely want to add into this because I very much feel like it can to relate to what the actual general friendships people should actually expect and deserve from people. And I just thought I should put this here because sometimes I like putting quotes that I find interesting or really good in this part of the video to end off with. And I do really hope I got my point across in this video. I know it's not like normally as long as my other videos that go for an hour or longer. I just don't think I need to talk about this for a full hour and stretching things out. I think this is the right amount of time, and I think I got my point across anyway. I hope so anyway. So I'm just going to put it up on screen for you guys here.
The best way to identify a great friend is how they react when you win. Real friends want you to win, and once you start winning, you realize how rare real friends really are. Bad friends are 100 times more dangerous than enemies. It's better to be alone than be around people who secretly hope you fail.
But yeah, I hope I got my point across making this video. I have no idea, honestly, but I did really wanted to talk about this. I hope I talked about this okay in the best way possible. I think trying to get it across as a person who is going through this, I think is probably the best way. Thank you for watching this week's video. I upload every week, sometimes 3 times a month, depends what I'm working on. And you can subscribe if you want to, it's okay if not. And if you guys want to keep up to date with the channel, you can follow the channel's social medias. That's where I post all the little updates and what I'm working on during the week. And if you guys want to follow me personally, all of my social medias are down below, and all my sources and everything I used in this week's video will be on the website on this week's episode. So if you guys want to check it out, go ahead. And another thing I want to add here is if you guys have anything that you think no one really talks about or the news doesn't talk about, or any like case suggestions, please let me know. There's a little place on the website where you can put your like little suggestions of a case or topic suggestion that you think no one really talks about but people should know more of. Please put it up on there on the website. You can add more information and stuff there, or in the comments down below, I don't mind. But yeah, thank you for watching this week's video. Bye!